Hello everyone, welcome to HM Plays. Quick announcement before we start. I'm giving away a free copy of Dying Light the Beast on your platform of choice. It's worldwide and it's easy to enter. I'll explain exactly how at the end, so stick around. Now with all that out of the way, let's dive in. So this is going to be a full 100% review of Dying Light the Beast game, and I'll keep this as spoiler free as I can. I finished the game on normal difficulty with all side content I could find. And today I'm breaking down the story setup, the open world, safe zones, Chimera boss fights, graphics and performance, rewards, crafting, combat, my 3 go-to builds, stealth and AI, difficulty, and finally my overall verdict plus the giveaway details. Dying Light the Beast is a sequel to Dying Light 1 with the return of Kyle Crane to the series. The story was okay, and the overall adventure was good, but it's definitely lacking in content. We will go through this in more details as I break things down while keeping the review spoiler free. First up, this game was released on 18 September this year. I didn't get a review copy, which is why this coverage is a little late. I bought the Deluxe Premium Edition at full price on Steam. There isn't much included in the Deluxe Edition other than a tourist map, which marks locations on your map for places they call worth exploring. At first, I thought this would be an in-game update to the map automatically marking these points of interest. But it's not. All it is, a PDF version of the map, with boxes and question marks marking locations. So, I went to explore one of those spots from the tourist map, which isn't marked on the in-game world map, so it's kind of hidden. I went to this red circle location and found out it's a basement area with no power. So I switched on the generator to power it up, turned on the switch and watched the zombies get electrified and cooked. I then turned off the switch to get inside and found a cool looking new weapon. A bat wrapped in chains that kind of reminded me of Lucia from The Walking Dead, Negan's iconic weapon. So, it's not all bad. You can find cool weapons and other things. I haven't explored all the locations, but this was just an example to show you guys what the tourist map can be used for. I think the developers intended for you to actually have a printed hard copy of this map in front of you so you can look at the physical map and navigate in-game to reach the location and really feel like you're actually in the game, which is very immersive and pretty fun to mess around with. The game length is roughly 21 hours for the main story mission and around 15 hours of side content, including some side activities. This is not terrible, but I was expecting a larger story and more side quests, which is where the game is lacking content. With all this stuff out of the way, let's talk about the actual game. The game is not all bad. The experience is fun and different to Dying Light 2's experience. For example, you do not have to worry about running out of time during night before you are about to turn. This mechanic did add more challenge to the Dying Light 2's experience, but it's good to see that they've changed it in Dying Light the Beast for players who did not like the timed experience from Dying Light 2. You also don't have to worry about stamina when climbing ledges or buildings, so this game is slightly more relaxed version of Dying Light 2. I started this game when patch 1.2.4 rolled out, which reduced the annoying zombie grabs and improved the day and night cycle. The zombie grabs are still very annoying in this game, and I hope the developers will address this in the future patches. Another reason for starting this game a bit late was to allow the developers to polish some of the progress blockers, which were fixed in their previous patches. The game does make you feel powerful at the beginning, and you only get stronger towards the end. When you combine this with the beast mode mechanic the game gives you, in my opinion, having this control of changing into beast mode early on would be more fun than having it in the late game, because then there is no point, as you get to control your beast mode only during the last couple of main missions. The last skill of the beast mode tree, which allows you to fully control the transformation, should be given to the players early on. The first time I experienced the beast mode in the hospital during the intro was very satisfying and fun, but this feeling started to fade as I progressed through the game, with a lot of things being very similar to Dying Light 2, such as the parkour. Though it's more limited and less than Dying Light 2, it's very obvious that this was a DLC expansion and not a full game. With an expansion, you'd normally expect more combat and parkour skills, but in this game, they reduced them and called it a more focused experience. Fans did not like this, but again, if you purchase the Dying Light 2 Ultimate Edition, you get this game for free, so think of it as a free 35 to 40 hours of good content and gameplay experience. Number 1. Setup and story premise. So, with that said, let's dive fully into the setup and story of the game without spoiling anything, as the game just released. Just be aware that there will be actual game footage as Kyle Crane is captured for experimentation for 13 years. You play as protagonist Kyle Crane from Dying Light 1. Due to these experiments, he is transformed into something else, something unique that gives him control over his ability and transformation. This is where the beast transformation comes in. It would be nice to see how Kyle Crane actually looks like when he's transformed, but as the game is 100% played from a first-person perspective, you never get to see this even during the cutscenes. During the experimentation phase, A woman named Olivia helps Kyle to escape as she herself wants to escape the whole mess of the situation. The evil antagonist is called the Baron, who has been experimenting and creating all these chimeras by experimenting on zombies to create controllable, powerful creatures. The beast opens on a city that feels like it's holding its breath. Supplies are thin, radio chatter is clipped and tense, and daylight acts like a timer because the second it slips, the streets belong to the infected. Your job after escaping is to hunt down these chimeras one by one to get stronger. How do you get stronger exactly? I'm not going to spoil this for you. All you need to know is that you face boss fights in this game after you've escaped. You prepare yourself to take revenge on those who experimented on you and made you into something you did not choose to be. By taking on these chimeras, powerful beasts, created by Baron himself, you're able to gain points, which then you can spend on your beast skill tree to learn new skills. Early on, you meet a grounded ally who pushes you to protect civilians first, a fixer with just enough shady connections to make you uneasy, and the Baron's forces who tighten the nose every time you make progress. What I like is that your choices aren't just boxes to tick. They echo back in later conversations and subtly shift the tone of certain missions. A couple of side quests genuinely land, and those moments stuck with me long after the credits. Where it wobbles is the spine of main plot. It's serviceable, never insulting or incoherent, but compared to the side content, it feels a little anonymous. If I had to summarize the campaign in one line, it would be hunt chimeras, stockpile beast points, confront the Baron. And honestly, the Baron doesn't demand as much preparation as the game implies. I felt like I could have challenged him with almost no beast point at all. I went in expecting a 50-hour journey, wrapped it around 35 hours, including all side quests. Not a deal breaker, but set expectations. The side content carries a lot of emotions, while the main plot keeps you moving just enough to maintain momentum. Number 2. Impressions and speculations. In my opinion, if we went into playing the game without knowing if it was going to be a DLC expansion or fully fledged game, you would probably think it's a fully fledged game. The developers did a good job at giving us this feeling of a brand new game which bridges between the first Dying Light and Dying Light 2. The game clearly sets the stage for the third entry into the Dying Light series. However, I do feel like this is not the end. It clearly isn't the end, and you will know what I mean when you actually finish the story. I won't spoil anything, but it hints that something more is definitely coming up soon. There could even be a brand new sequel to this game or a story expansion, but this is just speculation on my part. In terms of the actual story, side missions, etc., it's not all bad. There are some memorable moments in the game which keeps you engaged and hooked to see what's next in the story.
Easy. I'm with the folks at the town hall. Name's Kyle Crane.
So, those things out there, you got rid of them?
All of them. You're safe now.
It's almost too good to be true.
Mostly, it's what you would expect. Fighting zombies, crafting, modding weapons to get better weapons, killing chimeras, and that's basically the pattern you follow. Side content to me stood out the most, as you get to make friends, develop a lasting relationship with these people, and gain their trust so they can offer you more jobs and rewards. As an example, one of the side quests that stood out to me sets the objective to find Ron and Anna. They went to Barrett to ask for help. I make my way to find Ron, but I'm too late as I find Ron getting stabbed by Baron's men, who in his last dying breaths asks Kyle to save Anna.
Shit. Gotta stop the bleeding. Now hang in there.
Where's Anna?
I don't know. Listen, I gotta stop the...
Anna! Save her!
No, Ron, listen. This ain't good. I can't stop the bleeding.
The voiceover and characters' animation and expressions are well done. Then you find Anna who's with a baby and finds out Ron is dead. And then she's left alone in this cruel world with a baby.
So, he's left us.
Us? You're pregnant.
Yes.
I found this quest to be quite a sad story for Ron and Anna, and it was a memorable side quest. So while the main story was okay, side content gives a little bit more meat on the bone and makes it interesting to the point where it doesn't make you feel like you wasted your time. Let's move on to the difficulty of the game. The game features 3 levels of difficulty for you to choose from. Story, which is the easy difficulty, survival mode, which is normal, and hard, which is brutal. I played on survival difficulty, which is normal, and found the game to be fun to play while also facing some challenge in the combat. Challenging the difficulty impacts the enemy damage and combat tactics with greater efficiency. It also affects combat management, which is basically stamina. The higher the difficulty, the more stamina is consumed per hit. Techland is also likely to add an additional difficulty level for those who crave a true challenge. One more thing to keep in mind. If you're going a higher difficulty, remember XP is lost in large amounts when you die. However, you earn more XP per action and you have better loot chances. Finally, it affects merchant inventory and stock. Higher difficulty means fewer resources and armor is less impactful. So it's important to be aware that there will be a large pool of XP lost when you die, slowing down your level progression. Dying on brutal difficulty can be very costly if you're not careful. At the same time, you will also level up faster if you do not die. Now, I would like to talk about the world scale and how the map actually feels. Dying Light the Beast takes place in Castor Woods, which is inspired by Swiss Alps for its dramatic landscape combined with developers' personal experience when roaming the Alps. They incorporated traditional European countryside for the farmlands and national park layouts. This is an interesting take on the new idea and it definitely works. However, in my experience, it is worth noting that at times, I wanted to fast travel, as from time to time between quest and objective markers, I felt like I was spending more time moving from point A to point B than actually spending time playing the game, killing zombies and progressing through the main quest. There is no fast travel in this game. Although the map isn't super big in size and scale, traversing the map does feel a little bit time consuming and frustrating at times. The grappling hook, even when fully upgraded, doesn't offer much in terms of traversing the map. The only use I had for grappling hook was to stun a zombie or complete safe zone outposts which were difficult to reach and climb without a grappling hook. Comparing its useful to Dying Light 2, it certainly doesn't offer the same experience. On the other hand, I found driving in this game to be okay, but a boring way to traverse the map. Initially it's fun, smashing through zombies, but it does get repetitive over time. Traversing using parkour is a lot more fun, especially when you get to use a dropkick on a zombie while traversing. The whole system is designed to encourage you to parkour, to go from point A to point B, but driving is also an option for those who prefer it. The map is packed with details and Swiss architecture, which is surprising considering its smaller map compared to Dying Light 2. There are multiple zones on the map divided into different difficulty levels. However, you can still enter these zones and fight off tougher zombies if you feel you're up for a challenge. The enemy usually gets tougher as you level up and enter higher difficulty zones within the map. My only complaint is that there weren't enough variety of different type of enemies and zombies. It would be nice to see developers adding a more variety to different type of zombies and their movesets. Compared to Dying Light 2 Stay Human, this map feels tighter and dense, with more vertical layering and fewer empty stretches. Techland still nails the seamless open world. No loading screens, just rooftops, stitched together with ladder, zip lines, and precarious planks. The city invites you to learn it. Now let's talk about safe zones and dark zones. There are multiple safe zones scattered throughout the map. Safe zones are your lifelines. Activating one usually means clearing the area, restoring power, sometimes it's a fuse, sometimes a set of breakers, and bringing the UV online. It provides you with a safe place to sleep, craft using a workbench, or use the stash to store your items. These items that you store are accessible anywhere around the map using the stash inside a safe zone. While inside a safe zone, you can choose to wait to sleep until nightfall or until morning. Those are the only two options you are given, which is better than having no options at all. You can also unlock substations as your free zones for extra rewards if you choose to do so. These do not provide you with additional side quests, but they do offer an escape from the chase. If you choose to unlock safe zones, you can find blueprints and crafting recipes amongst other rewards. If you like the dark zones, exploration and loot, this returns in Dying Light the Beast. Dark zones are where infected like to stay during the day and they leave the dark zones during nightfall. You can sneak into these dark zones for valuables and loot resources, while also having to deal with the infected. You can either fight your way in and clear the infected, or choose to stay quiet, adopt a stealthy approach, and loot without waking up a single zombie. Dark zones are a great source of blueprints, armor, and manual pages for upgrading weapons and other tools at your disposal. However, I found that you can also loot these dark zones during the day, and I did not find a single volatile inside these dark zones, making it so that choosing to loot these either during the night or day won't make any difference. I know fans didn't like this, and I hope the devs will add more challenge to the dark zones and add a better loot system for killing volatiles for a better reward. Another thing I would like to briefly talk about are the side quests. As I mentioned, there aren't a lot of side quests in this game, but they are emotional, memorable, and impactful. I always prefer quality over quantity. These are not fetch quests. Every side quest has a story to it. Each side quest can take you between 20 minutes to 1 hour depending on how you choose to play. For example, a side quest I mentioned before about finding Ron and Anna is just an example of one of the many side quests that are memorable and impactful, and I would actually recommend you go through all the side quests in this game, as I think they're actually worth doing and don't feel like wasted time or simple fetch quests. They also offer some good rewards, money, and experience points. Most of these offer manual pages, intermediate and expert, so you can upgrade blueprints. More on that later. Now let's talk about my experience with driving in this game. Driving in this game is fun. The feel of the 4x4 traction, control, and maneuverability feels just right. It feels smooth and almost perfect. You can refuel when required or repair using a repair kit to fix up the vehicle, which is unlocked with a specific side quest. Almost always, you use the vehicle to get from point A to point B between objectives while smashing through zombies. There's a little race course quest which is interesting and tests your driving skills. In terms of map design, the devs have carefully planned routes and layout of the roads for you to freely enjoy the driving experience in this game. So I just wanted to say, I did enjoy driving in this game. Sometimes you feel you want to take a break from that parkour and just get inside a vehicle and drive freely while you take in the beautiful views of Castor Woods. Moving on to boss fights, basically they're called Chimeras. There are 8 chimeras encounters spread through the story, each with its own little twist, but they share a rhythm. They look intimidating, yet on survival, they're more about reading patterns and brute execution. Most of the heavy swings are clearly telegraphed. If you bait the attack, dodge cleanly, and punish during recovery, you'll shrug big chunks safely. Their hits are slow, and once you learn a moveset, it becomes a dance: bait, dodge, punish, and reset. The vertical control matters. Use ledges to create space, force stumbles into drop kick, and keep an eye on UV pockets or explosive barrels to tilt momentum back your way. I'll test these again on hard difficulty to see if timing windows, damage, and aggression change meaningfully. But on normal difficulty, I'll call them cinematic and approachable rather than punishing. Overall, I found boss fights in this game to be quite easy, but that could change when I change the difficulty from normal to hard. Number 8. Graphics, audio, and visuals. Visually, the game can be gorgeous, especially from the rooftops or the monument. When the draw distance open up, it does feel a bit dated in places. Certain effects are missing, simple things like convincing water ripples when you swim, and reflections don't stand out in the current build. Ray tracing is slated to be added, and I'll cover that as soon as it lands, because the lighting backbone is strong enough that proper ray tracing could elevate the look significantly. Audio quietly carries the experience. Howlers telegraph trouble with a shriek, and you can pick out even in chaos. Spitters have distinct hiss, and the music ramps into a pulse that tracks your panic during high-tier chases. So overall, the game does look visually stunning, but the addition of ray tracing will definitely make it worthwhile for another replay. Alright, let's move on to performance and stability. Some of you are probably aware of the busted day and night cycle and indoors rain. Sometimes it would rain permanently, which is game breaking. When I jumped in, patch 1.2.3 and 1.2.4 fixed all of these problems, so I didn't experience that, but I'm glad I didn't. I've been playing on PC with an RTX 4090, everything maxed, DLSS on quality, frame generation off because it felt poorly optimized in my testing. With that setup, I average 60 to 70 FPS. It's perfectly playable, though there are occasional stutters that remind you the engine could use a tune-up, especially if you're targeting super smooth frame pacing. And honestly, I expect future optimization patches to help, and I'm curious how it's running on PS5, PS5 Pro, and Xbox Series S. If you're on console, drop your FPS experience in the comments below. For settings, I keep motion blur off so parkour edges stay crisp, and I leave FOV at default because it helps me to judge ledges and gaps at full sprint. Generally, the game at this stage is very playable, and the devs have already fixed the biggest issues with performance and stability. I played on normal difficulty, and I can't wait to jump back in for a second playthrough once Techland have added ray tracing into the game and have polished frame generation for that smooth 60 FPS experience. The game doesn't have anything particularly game-breaking or any progression blockers. This is very positive. Okay, so this brings us to the progression system. Progression pays you for style and consistency. As you level, you'll earn new melee weapons and firearms, and both parkour and combat feed their own tracks. Side quests and the main story grant perk points at a steady pace. The tree is leaner than Stay Human, fewer novelty picks, more focus. Two skills are essentially blueprints for a flamethrower and a grenade launcher. Personally, I'd have preferred additional movement options in those slots, but if you enjoy heavy tools in your kit, they're there. You can reach a maximum level of 15. As you level up, you'll gain skill points, which you can then allocate to the skill tree. There are 3 different paths to the skill sets you can take. The one at the top focuses mostly on parkour skills such as wall kick, active landing, enemy jump, parkour shot, and more. The skill set to the left focuses on combat skills such as satisfying dropkick, power shot, head stomp, windmill, and more. And finally, the skill set at the bottom is a mixture of stealth, improved driving, blueprints for flamethrowers and grenade launchers, camouflage, and more. Eventually, you will have all the skill sets maxed out with max level. Once you have reached level 11, you also gain 2 skills, improved parkour and an ability to escape from enemy grabs. These are given to you for free once you've reached level 11 and do not require you to spend a skill point on them. This does fit in with the lore of the game. As you can imagine, that Kyle Crane was captured for experimentation on for years, which weakened his body and skills. As Kyle Crane becomes stronger, he gains more skills and an ability to perform parkour more efficiently, basically meaning that you get better and stronger at combat and faster at parkour naturally as the game progresses, which help to keep things interesting and fresh. Getting better gear and weapons is also part of the progression. There are different types of sets and armor which you can find throughout the open world. Doing quests and side activities will reward you with new armor. While you can't upgrade the armor on a workbench, you can find higher tier armor as you explore. You can create different loadouts to equip the right armor set that will boost your passive abilities to suit your playstyle. For example, for a ranged build, you can equip armor that will increase range damage to headshots, and reduce stamina consumption, etc. Here I would like to mention one use of grappling hook you can unlock as part of the main story progression is that you can use it on an enemy. And if you have unlocked the enemy stomp kill, you can stomp on these enemies' heads soon after you've grappled them. Also, as your character levels up, you will start to notice an increase in the health and stamina bar, allowing you to last longer in battle against the infected. In terms of the main missions, story chimeras reward beast points, which you spend in beast mode. I didn't find beast points essential because I rarely needed beast mode to win encounters, but your mileage may vary depending on difficulty. Armor drops primarily through side content and helps you tune stats towards melee, ranged, or hybrid setups. Blueprints are easy to track down. Clear world activities unlock safe zones and you'll collect a full kit. I do wish more blueprints were hidden as true secrets to push exploration even harder. More on beast mode and how it feels in the game is covered in the later section of the video. Moving on to the crafting and upgrading, it's quite simple. It largely comes down to obtaining resources, unlocking crafting recipes with blueprints, and using the crafting menu or workbenches to craft items, throwables, and weapons. You will have the durability points for each melee weapon, which reduce each time you strike an enemy. When the durability of a melee weapon reaches 0, your weapon becomes unusable and the character will automatically switch to another equipped weapon. However, you can repair your melee weapon, and the number of times you can repair depends on the weapon tier. Once you've run out of these repairs, the weapon is permanently destroyed and you'll either have to find a new weapon or craft a new one. Weapons can only be crafted using a workbench, which the game provides you in various places throughout the world, in places like safe zones or settlements. Whereas, you can craft things like throwables, medicines, grenades, ammunition for ranged weapons, and other items at your disposal in the crafting menu. And this doesn't require you to use a workbench. On a positive note, all ranged weapons do not suffer from durability points, so you only need to craft or acquire a ranged weapon once. Personally, I didn't have a problem with repairing a melee weapon and keep on using it to progress with the main and side quests until the repairs ran out, as you always tend to find a better weapon before the previous one is completely destroyed. In terms of upgrading your weapons and equipment, manual pages unlock new recipes at a comfortable pace, and you'll naturally slide into legendary upgrades by mid-late game without grinding. There's no blueprint for UV bars, so I relied on a UV flashlight. However, I did find a UV bar late in the game, and I used it especially during the hospital chase. There are lifesavers when you need a breather mid-sprint. So I hope the devs will add a UV bar blueprint, and I know many of you have requested this from the developers. Using manual pages, you can upgrade your weapons for which you have found a blueprint. Not only weapons, you can also upgrade ranged weapons, throwables, boosters, weapon mods, medicines, equipment such as UV flashlight and grappling hook. With each upgrade, you will change the weapon tier from common to rare to epic and then to legendary, which is the highest tier in the game for any given weapon, equipment or consumable. Weapons last longer than you expect. Lower tier melee weapons can be repaired twice, higher tier gear can be repaired up to 5 times. There's also a durability perk that slows wear, and it's worth grabbing early if you love sticking with a favorite. Upgrading is straightforward. You can enchant a weapon at a workbench to bring its level 1 level higher, which increases the damage. Then you can slot mods such as flame, voltage, and so on that activate on critical hits. You can also install an alternative version of mod that triggers when you hold a strong attack. Once the mod is fully charged, letting you time the effect deliberately. Keep your stable small, 2 primaries you truly invest in, and the system feels punchy rather than grindy. Okay, so on number 12, it's combat and parkour system. Combat works best when you think of crowd control first. Two-handed weapons are slower, but they stagger groups and open lanes for wall stuns and drop kicks. One-handers keep you mobile so you can poke, roll and reposition without getting caught in long animations. Patch 1.3 added new finisher animations that feel weighty and satisfying, and gameplay is more present than before. More weapons, more ammo, and more reasons to wave firearms into your plan. I found that the map design itself has fewer rooftops, so most of the time I spend on the ground facing the infected. This is good and bad. It's bad because it means you spend less time parkouring and more time fighting the infected. You can still avoid the infected as I did where I could, not because I didn't enjoy fighting the infected, but because I hated the zombie grab in this game. It's still very annoying even after all these patches. However, I believe future patches will fix this issue. You can still avoid zombie grabs by pressing F on PC, allowing you to push zombie in the direction of your movement. Or, once you have reached level 11, you can dodge enemy grabs instantly and escape from them by pressing E on PC as soon as the zombie has grabbed you. So there are ways to deal with this. At night, the volatiles come out, and there are a lot of volatiles in this game spread throughout the map. If you want to challenge yourself, you can choose to do that during nightfall, but it's not a requirement. One of the main story missions gets you to start the mission during the nightfall, and this is where you face off against volatiles, and the chase begins. Other than that, you can avoid volatiles almost always. That being said, the UV safe zones become pointless from an ending the chase point of view, as there aren't many opportunities for you to face volatiles due to a mission. Dark zones, like I mentioned before, can be done during the day. However, you can still kill volatiles, and there is an achievement for doing that. But the loot you get from killing a volatile is lacking and not worth it. Therefore, in my opinion, it's not worth fighting the volatiles as you don't get much reward in return. What else was a little bit annoying is the camera. When a group collapses on you, the framing can sit too close or swing at odd angles, and suddenly spacing becomes guesswork. It's not consistent, but when it happens, it can steal an otherwise clean fight. Weapon variety carries the field though. Slashing, blunt, one-handed, two-handed, each family has distinct timing and impact. The upgrade loop, style sync, then elemental mods help every swing feel like it matters. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about close quarter combat system. Combat definitely feels more gory, slashing and dismembering zombies feel very satisfying, especially with a two-handed weapon or a longsword style weapon. When you get a higher tier weapon with more damage, you can slash zombies to bits once you get going. This widely depends on your loadouts, skills and abilities. The beast mode adds a layer to your combat gameplay, but more on that later. Finding a new melee weapon is fun when you start to use it for the first time. It's pretty straightforward. You swing the weapon, hit the zombie, and watch them get cut into pieces. That's it. Depending on where you aim at the zombie, with your melee or firearms, you will see specific parts of the zombie cut into pieces. The weapon feedback feels great and instant. It definitely felt better than Dying Light 2's combat, and the weapons feel impactful and weighty. You do get access to ranged weapons such as longbows, crossbows, pistols, shotguns, revolvers, snipers and assault rifles, or even a saw blade weapon, for which you can find a blueprint in the game. You can either buy ammo from traders, which is quite expensive, or you can loot it from convoys, or earn it through missions and side quests as a reward. Whichever way you choose, you can find ammo to be plentiful throughout the world. I have created different loadouts and I switch between loadouts depending on the situation, which I will talk about in a bit more detail later. You get access to throwables such as throwing knives with effects like poison, bleeding or explosion, molotov, grenades, you name it. These can be crafted in the crafting menu if you can find and unlock them through a blueprint from a safe zones. One of the skill point unlocks a range of blueprints to craft a variety of throwables like smoke grenades, flashbangs, etc. A variety of ranged weapons allows you to have a full ranged build so you can fight off enemies from a distance. The game also has environmental traps such as setting off car alarms and then the car blows up, or electric fences which electrocutes the enemies. These are preset locations placed strategically by the citizens of Castor Woods. You can learn different skills, allowing you to make use of these skills when using ranged weapons, such as slowdown time, similar to Red Dead Redemption 2 style, but it can only be used with crossbows or hunter bows. This is, in a nutshell, how the combat is set up for this game. It's really fun and enjoyable experience. You also have a chance to find legendary weapons in some locations which are not already marked on the map. Some of these locations are also not marked on the Castor Wood tourist map, which you get from the deluxe edition of the game. I haven't explored all of these locations like I mentioned before, but one of the legendary weapon I came across wasn't already marked on the map. So I will do a separate video showing the legendary weapon I found. And briefly touching on the deluxe edition for the tourist map which you get with it. Is it worth getting it for someone who wants to know all the locations? Unless you decide to explore every nook and cranny without the map to guide you to the location, I think it's worth it if you want to explore all the locations and find secrets the game has to offer. Now moving on to the parkour system. As there is no fast travel in this game, the parkour system becomes even more critical and an important aspect of the game to allow players to traverse from point A to point B. Parkour is pretty good. Ledges are easy to grab, their movement is fluid and smooth. In the entire Dying Light series, parkour is generally really good, and this is what makes the game enjoyable to play. As there is no stamina consumption while parkouring or grabbing and climbing, players can take their time to think and plan their next move. With how the map is laid out and having a smaller map, it makes it easier to learn traversing routes. There's definitely a lack of skill sets in the parkour system compared to Dying Light 2. Dying Light 2 has a more extensive skill tree and a progression system. Even the map, with the addition of a choice or factions, allows you to have different systems with more zip lines and ability to jump higher, allowing more flexibility and fun with parkouring throughout the map. Overall, parkour is still fun and feels more fluid compared to Dying Light 2, though the grappling hook is a little bit disappointing as you have fewer uses and purposes when using a grappling hook. At number 13, let's talk about the Beast mod. The Beast mod in the game is actually fun, especially when you get the ability to control it. All it is, you engage in combat and taking damage, dodging or hitting enemies fills up the meter, which is the red bar in this case. In the early game, when this meter fills up, you will transform into a beast. And killing and smashing through zombies is satisfying when you see their limbs torn apart with Kyle's bare hands. It does a lot of damage per hit. Performing hits, especially abilities inside beast mode, consumes the red bar until it's fully empty. In this case, you switch back to Kyle Crane in his human form. As you progress through the game and unlock new skills, you gain control over when you can activate the beast mode. You can choose yourself. This means you can use it to maximize the advantage and only use it when you really need it in difficult situations. As I was mentioning that the grappling hook is not that useful in this game, within the beast mode skill tree, you get to unlock an ability which basically lets you use the grappling hook while in beast mode and then pull yourself towards it. This isn't very useful or has any purpose to anything. It just adds an extra fun layer on top of what is already a fun game. Overall, the beast mode is fun, especially in the beginning, but gets repetitive towards mid/end game. I think it's fine considering the length of the game. If the game was longer, the beast mode would feel even more repetitive. And on number 14, my build and loadouts. I run 3 quick swaps loadouts and change them based on who I'm facing. For zombies, boss arenas and big hordes, I go close melee. A fast one-handler with shock or bleed so I can stack damage while staying light on my feet. For human soldiers, especially rifle squads and snipers, I switch to firearms, play cover to cover and use smokes or distractions to cross open ground. When I'm dealing with rooftop noise sensors, splitters or anything that forces me to aim up, I swap to range setup, bows and throwables knives, with headshot perks, keeping elevation whenever possible. That simple triangle, melee, firearms and ranged, means less time in menus and more time in motion. Number 15, stealth and AI. Now let's talk about stealth. Stealth is functional, but the experience is only as convincing as the enemies you are slipping past, and the AI needs polish. On normal difficulty, I could perform stealth takedowns on zombies and human guards with surprising ease, even when I wasn't perfectly crouched. Enemy AI detection ranges fell short and I cleared routes without much resistance. In gunfights, cover behavior can be clumsy. Enemies sometimes expose half their bodies and they are slow to react if you start peeling them off one by one. I do appreciate that groups will occasionally charge to break stalemates, but those moments are inconsistent. I am planning a hard difficulty run to see if detection ranges and reactions scale up. If you noticed a big difference, let me know in the comments so I can test it. Right now, in the game's current state, I'd call stealth forgiving. Great if you enjoy the fantasy of slipping through danger. Not so great if you're craving a hardcore infiltration challenge. So this brings us to the end of the video. Now I'm going to give some details on the overall feel of the game and the giveaway details. Dying Light the Beast isn't flawless, but when it sings, it howls. Slick movement, sweaty night runs, crunchy combat, and a few standout set pieces that had me grinding. If you want immaculate AI and iron flat pacing, maybe wait for another patch or a sale. If you're here for adrenaline, atmosphere, and a tight 30 to 40 hours, it delivers. If this breakdown helped, hit subscribe and like. It genuinely fuels the next deep dive. Drop your thoughts below. I read every comment and steal your best tips for future videos. With credit. Now, the giveaway time. To enter, all you need to do, subscribe, like this video, and leave a comment with a green heart, plus what you loved or hated most about Dying Like the Beast. With Christmas coming soon, I'll pick one winner on December 25th and send a copy to your platform of choice. Dropkick the like button, grapple on to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next rooftop. Stay human, stay sharp, and keep that UV charged.